Well, Donald Trump is getting an education in real time on the importance of allies.
It almost happened again. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David. Today we have a plot that has been foiled. Teenagers, pew-pews, a school, the same sort of thing that just happened in Tumbler Ridge. We got Pierre Poilievre down in Texas meeting with TC Energy. We got an update from the Bank of Canada. We got a bunch of stuff here. Let's jump into this. Starting this episode off, we got some BC polling data coming from Main Street Research. We're seeing 31.7% for David Eby and 32% for the Conservatives. And keep in mind, this is the Conservatives without a proper leader. So this is a good piece of news we have in Canada. We need a Conservative stronghold somewhere. It would be nice if it's in my home province. And with that, we've got Angus Reid coming out with this. We've got the Premier approval ratings here for March 2026, and there's some noticeable changes here. So first off, Wab Kinew still sitting on top. Susan Holt has dropped a bit. She's in second place. We've got Scott Moe, Daniel Smith, and Tony Wakeham rounding out the middle section, and we see Tim Houston dropping 11 points, the biggest loser among the bunch. I don't know if it's the eco-green wind power or what it is, but his approval plummeting. Someone else falling to near bottom here is David Eby and Doug Ford. Now, it's no surprise that Francois Legault is at the bottom because of his whole scandal. If we scroll down here, we can see David Eby's approval rating here, once 53% back in March of last year. In just 1 year, 53 to 37%. The reason for this is the Cowichan case. You've got the Vancouver Musqueam deal. First Nation land grabs. People don't want their houses stolen from them. They don't want rights stolen from them. They don't want uncertainty. David Eby will tank the BC NDP to the point where they will no longer be in government next time there is an election, which is one good piece of news coming out of Canada right now. And this is no surprise, as we got Brittany posting here, the BC NDP racking up a $13.3 billion deficit, paying $6.4 billion per year on interest in just British Columbia.
When families take out a mortgage, they understand something simple. If you borrow money today, you're responsible for paying it back tomorrow. But the NDP government has taken out a massive mortgage on the future of this province and are leaving it to your kids and mine to make those payments. This year's budget runs a $13.3 billion deficit, the largest ever recorded in BC's history. British Columbians will now be paying $6.4 billion every year just in interest. And interest payments build nothing. They don't build hospitals, they don't hire nurses, fix roads, or build new bridges. They simply cover the cost of the NDP's borrowing.
So this is a disaster for the province, but we're seeing this disaster across every province. We're seeing deficits everywhere. There's one that's mostly focused on healthcare out of Saskatchewan, Alberta running deficits, same with maritime provinces. The Liberals have absolutely bankrupted this country. When you have good paying jobs leaving the country, you have skilled workers leaving the country, everyone else has to pick up the bill. Moving ahead, we've got TC Energy CEO says Canada's energy projects approval still too slow despite Carney reforms. Well, of course, Carney didn't get rid of the 9 bad laws. We've got Pierre Poilievre here meeting with him, as we see. You notice Carney not going and meeting with the CEO of TC Energy or Enbridge or name a oil company. And we've got Pierre Poilievre here down in Texas, met with President Todd Staples and Director Matt Patterson of the Texoga, Texas Oil and Gas Association. Just imagine where we'd be at today if Pierre Poilievre was in power. No net zero agenda, big projects, big jobs, some deportations, life would be good. Careful what you vote for. With that, we've got Luis Blyce, the former ambassador to the UN and Council General in America, praising Poilievre here, saying, I respect how the leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre, has organized this trip. I've said this over and over again. If you only go to DC, you will not get the USA and you will not build real bonds. So praising Pierre Poilievre's trip across America. Meanwhile, Canada reports first annual population decline on record. That's right. Canadians can't afford to have kids. This hits me directly. I chose not to have kids because I couldn't afford to. Throughout my 30s, it wasn't even on my mind. Life was just too difficult. It was too expensive. I lived the majority of my 30s through the Trudeau years, and now here we are today with Mark Carney to finish us off. Instead, what do we get? So this video is going around here. Brampton in 1994 versus Brampton in 2026. If you look at the demographics, Brampton today has 80% visible minority and 50% South Asian. So it's no surprise that if you go there, you would feel like you're in a city in India. Now, the question we should be asking is, why are we bringing in so many people from one country? It's changing Canadian culture. It should be equally distributed across all countries. But at this point, we shouldn't be bringing in anyone. We have too many people. We're full. We don't have enough jobs, healthcare, housing to have more people come in. With that, we've got an alleged home invader was pew-pewed in the gut in a botched home invasion in Vaughan this week. was identified as Tristan Casanova Elman. He already has a warrant out for his suspected role in other pew-pews and bad stuff. This is one feel-good story we've got here of a criminal getting what he deserves. There's a clip of Doug Ford going off about how this guy deserved to get pew-pewed. I'm not going to play it because the words he used, I'd have to bleep out way too much. Moving ahead here, Tiff Macklin giving us an update on the Bank of Canada interest rate.
Today, the Governing Council maintained the policy rate at 2.25%, and we've held the policy rate at this level since October.
Holding interest rate at 2.25%.
Recent data show the Canadian economy remains in excess supply and is growing slowly as it adjusts to U.S. tariffs and uncertainty. After growing 2.4% in the third quarter of last year, GDP shrank by 0.6% in the fourth quarter. This was weaker than we forecast at the time of the January MPR, but that's mainly because inventories were drawn down more than we expected. Domestic demand actually grew by 2.4% because of the strength in consumer and government spending, although housing was weak. Data received for early 2026 suggests the economy is expanding again, but at a slower pace than we had forecast in January.
So you get the idea here. All their forecasts are showing that Canada is just slowing to a halt. This train is going to stop here if we don't change things around real quickly. Sadly, the economy is already broken, and the same political party who broke it can't be expected to fix it. No question of stagflation. That signal came very clear months ago, the degree of which how broken this country will be clear by the end of 2026. I think that's a pretty accurate comment there. People are passing this chart around, which just really shows, Canada is hitting the bottom of the barrel here. This is an industrial implosion, investment in industrial machinery. This is awful for our country. Moving ahead, we've got BC school trustee quits to call out gender ideology in schools. Well, look at that. This comes following the Tumbler Ridge situation, saying we need to suspend SOGI, the S-word orientation and gender identity, province-wide until an examination is done on its impact, if any, on the perpetrator of the tragedy in Tumbler Ridge, wrote Laurie Thrones in a Monday statement posted to Facebook following his late February resignation from the Chilliwack School Board. So there is some common sense here in certain positions. And what do we see here today? Breaking. FBI and Interpol intercepted messages from two Canadian teens in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, who had been discussing plans to pew-pew their schools. A search warrant found handwritten plans, a roughly made intimidation pipe bomb, and pew-pew and H-word symbols. As we see police foil plans for bad attack on Nova Scotia school, teens facing charges. This is becoming a real problem in our country. Now, the question is this related to SOGI and all that with Tumbler Ridge? Is this not related to that at all? Not enough details right now to know what the motive is.
Two Canadian teenagers, one in Nova Scotia, the other in Manitoba, are accused of planning simultaneous attacks at their local high schools. Police in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia say they were contacted by the FBI and Interpol about a concerning online conversation between the two youth that began in February.
So two of them planned this at simultaneous high schools. This would have been two schools getting hit at the same time.
Officers searched a home in Bridgewater where they allegedly located detailed handwritten plans, imitation weapons, and clothing with hate symbols. A 15-year-old from Nova Scotia is now in custody. Meanwhile, RCMP in Manitoba arrested a youth in the province on Monday in relation to this case.
This is unbelievable. The Canada we know is gone. It's long gone. And I say that because we've got stories like this. Border agency systemic collapse allows man found guilty of immigration fraud to walk free and sue Canada. Egregious conduct by government investigator violates Gurpreet Singh's right to fair treatment, judge rules. This is ridiculous. 40-year-old Gurpreet Singh is suing the Canadian government and employees of the Canada Border Services Agency, alleging they prosecuted him maliciously and violated his charter rights. It's the latest twist in a massive immigration fraud saga in Saskatchewan that has been winding through the justice system for many years. At the heart of the drama lies a big mistake by the CBSA. This was not a single lapse in judgment by a single individual. Justice Nahid Bardai wrote in July 2025 Saskatoon Court of King's Bench decision. This was a systematic collapse. In 2022, Bardai found Singh guilty of running an immigration fraud scheme, making fake job offer letters and providing them to would-be immigrants from India. But instead of convicting Singh and sending him to jail, they threw out the case, allowing Singh to walk free. The surprising turn of events began moments before Singh was to be sentenced for his crimes. His lawyer asked Bandai to declare a mistrial, alleging the CBSA and the Crown withheld crucial information that might have exonerated Singh. They also claimed a lead CBSA investigator intimidated witnesses. The resulting mistrial hearing set off an unprecedented string of events, a series of bad decisions by the CBSA officials that eroded, that ended up undoing their 2-year immigration fraud investigation. This is wild. All they had to do was charge this guy. They let him walk, and then they sue the government. Now we have to pay for this. This is stupidity on another level. Deport. Jumping over to CBC, Trump has asked for help to clean out mines in the Strait of Hormuz, and all of the allies have just completely ghosted him. So we're in a situation now where how long is this conflict going to go on? Because Israel and America have different objectives here.
Now is retired U.S. Army Colonel and Senior Faculty Fellow at the Mershon Center for International Security Studies, Peter Mansour. Peter, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Give me your sense on the latest of what we're seeing, too, in the Middle East. There is a clear strategy, it feels like, from Israel going after the leaders of Iran, too, as well, especially in the last couple of days, and offering up, again, not needing any more approval in order to do that with forces when they believe that they have one of those targets in sight. What do you make, too, of those developments?
Well, regardless of what the Trump administration says are its goals in the Iran war, it's clear that Israel wants regime change. And so it's going after the top levels of the Iranian government wherever it could find them. It's also bombing the headquarters of the paramilitary organizations that protect the streets from protests and so forth. So this could be a divergence between Washington and Jerusalem based on what they want to see out of this war in the long run.
It feels like that's the way it's been heading, isn't it? Like whether they were on the same page initially with those initial strikes now almost 3 weeks ago, as we're 2.5 weeks into this conflict. But we've seen that departing, it feels like, and going separate ways in what each is going to do and trying to accomplish.
Yes, well, I think as the war progresses, the Trump administration wants to find an off-ramp. And I think that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sees this as his last best chance to bring a new government into power in Tehran. That would be a very tall order. Bombing has never really accomplished that in the past, and it's not sure that it's even possible, but that's where Israel is headed. The United States, rather, would like to see the Strait of Hormuz reopened and the energy flowing again, and like I said, maybe find an off-ramp to the bombing campaign.
Yeah, let's talk.
Yeah, as the prices go up, the oil goes up. Donald Trump is going to be feeling it in the polls. He doesn't want the price of oil to be skyrocketing because that gas increase in America, he's the one that's going to take full blame for that. I mean, the vehicles down there have already gone up like $10,000 a piece because of the tariffs. Their food inflation has gone up not nearly as much as here in Canada, but Trump does need to end that quickly, at least get America out of there. But to do that, he has to get the Strait of Hormuz opened up. Otherwise, he's still going to be blamed for it.
Talk about that too in the Strait of Hormuz, that Donald Trump has been critical of allies that, at least according to him, aren't joining in to order help reopen the strait to get those tankers moving. We have seen Iran, too, targeting some of the oil infrastructure, too, as well. So they're not completely defunct yet in order to still launch some of those attacks. What is it going to take in your estimation? Is it going to take other allies getting on board in order to get the strait reopened, or where are we at in that situation in particular?
Well, Donald Trump is getting an education in real time on the importance of allies. He now realizes that doing things like threatening NATO over Greenland and saying that the United States might not be there if NATO gets attacked has real-time repercussions. Obviously, almost every nation that's been contacted has said that they would rather not get involved in the war of choice now ongoing in the Middle East. Does the United States have the capability to reopen the strait? Yes, but probably not with the amount of power that it has available to it in the region. It'll have to bring in additional forces to potentially put boots on the ground on the littoral of the strait to make sure that Iran doesn't have the capability to interdict ships transiting it.
And this is a spicy situation because putting a bunch of boots on the ground, if you end up with U.S. casualties, then Trump's going to be feeling that in the polls too. That'll hurt the Republican Party in general, but right now he has full support from them, but he has to get a kind of a clean win and get out of there ASAP. But obviously, as he mentioned there, that's not Israel's goal. Israel's goal is to get the regime in power out of power. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Moving ahead, we've got Wiretap Media posting this. Insurance fraud has skyrocketed because the government third world immigration plan. Staged accidents have gone up 400% in 2025. Grand theft auto fraud is up 317% since 2023, and total insurance fraud is up 141% since 2019, costing taxpayers between $1 and $3 billion annually. This should be immediate jail time. They should have to pay off the cost of their fraud, whatever that might be, times 2 or 3. So if it's $100,000 in fraud damage or cost, then make it a $200,000 fine they have to work off in jail. Then they get deported if that's 5, 10, 15, 20 years later.
This is dashcam video of a car cruising along Toronto's Highway 407, and it abruptly turns and hits a guardrail. No one was injured. The driver claimed he swerved to avoid another car and looked to Aviva Insurance Company for a potential payout of thousands of dollars. And that's where investigator Mike Cardillo comes in.
And you'll see this car right here going very slowly onto the on-ramp.
Cardillo's team checked out the highway's traffic camera system to see the crash from a different angle. Same guardrail crash, but there's clearly no car the driver is trying to avoid. But that video reveals something else unexpected.
You can see this car right here. He was following closely.
There is another car, but it's farther back. And as the traffic camera records, you can see the pair switch before anyone else gets there.
You get footage like that, it tells the whole story on what exactly happened.
The person making the claim wasn't even driving the car, making any claim he was injured in that crash impossible.
Talk to me about those videos. What jumps out at you as an investigator?
That's the smoking gun. In an investigation, you have the video clear as day that the individual got out of the driver's side of the vehicle, hopped into another vehicle to take off.
A staged collision to profit off a fake insurance claim, and it's hardly the only one. Take this video of a parking lot east of Toronto. A dramatic rear-end crash that sparked a claim that Aviva believed was also fake, asking the driver enough questions that they abandoned the claim.
This is outrageous. They should file a lawsuit against this. Back when I was 16 years old, someone rear-ended my mother like this. She had damage to her neck. It took months and months and months for that to heal. This should be charged as vehicular manslaughter or some sort of serious offense. These scumbags the liberals have led into our country, they need to be put in jail for decades, work these damages off, and then get their butts out of our country. And going back to this one, I have no idea why they switched drivers here. To me, it doesn't make any sense. But having this kind of evidence, put them in jail 15 years. Get your butt working. It's time to drop the hammer on these losers. Knowing the liberal government, they'll just let them walk free. We've got someone in the comments here posting this. These are just some of the Singhs getting caught staging fake card thefts and carjacking. I mean, they're all from South Asia. I mean, we see it right here. Apkarn Singh, Langsay Sharma, Senpreet Sandhu, Gurkhan Singh. Obviously, none of these are native-born Canadians.